Hello and welcome to the Magic Mechanic Radio Show right here on WDBO. This is the show that can help you with any problem. Whatever car or truck you may be having, just pick up the phone right now and dial 844-580-9326, 844-580-WDBO. Larry Perry, the Magic Mechanic, is here answering your question. Just pick up your phone, talk to me. I'll get your year, your make, your model, and your issue, and then I'll kindly pass you off to the person who actually knows the answer. But I'm happy to talk to you. I know we got a lot of road trips coming up. It's the holiday season. If something's going on with your car and you want to just talk to a professional, now's your chance. 844-580-9326, 844-580-WDBO. Or you can open up your WDBO app and send us an open mic that way, and we'll play that in just about an hour and a half. Larry, how are you doing this fantastic day?
Hey, I'm doing great. Absolutely beautiful day. Hey, folks, it's 3 o'clock, and I'm Larry Perry. And you know what that means. And that means you're also tuned in to the Magic Mechanic Radio Show. So you new listeners know this is kind of an interactive automotive and mechanical advice program. I don't know, maybe we need to add a few more acclimates to it. I don't know. We talk about just about anything mechanical. We're here to help you with your car problems and just about anything that is mechanical. And it's been our pleasure to do so for over 31 years. Me personally, well, I'm an automotive shop owner, and I've been a master auto technician since 1982, and I've been working on cars professionally since around 1977, 78. To make the program work, we need your calls. The lines are open at 844-580-9326. I always tell folks I like to try to keep it as simple as possible, so if you can remember the 844 and the station that you're listening to, which is 580 WDBO, that makes that phone number pretty easy to remember. 844-580 WDBO. If you want to do it the hard way, 844-580-9326, and that'll also get you in line, and Josh will get you all squared away there. And remember, your calls and your car questions are now being indexed, every one of them, and placed on our new Magic Mechanic YouTube channel. We've been doing this, I guess, now for probably going on 6 months, and we've got a few hundred YouTube segments already up and running. So Logan, my gentleman that takes care of that part of the show for us, he's been pretty busy, and he takes care of all that. So other folks searching for answers like yours will be able to get the same needed information. So years from now, folks will be able to play back why their AC wasn't working on their 1999 Honda. So if they've got it 100 years from now, well, I'm sure we'll be able to help them out there a little bit. So in your case, whether it be a dash warning light, poor fuel economy, maybe your vehicle's smoking or using oil, AC's not working correctly, maybe you're feeling a vibration when you're heading down the road at a certain speed, maybe you got some irregular tire wear, maybe the tires on the front of the car are wearing on the inside or the outside. What does that mean? Give us a holler, and we'll try to help you with it. Recall notices, maybe you got something in the mail. There's always recall notices going out. Seems like you'll get one probably every few months on whatever you drive, it seems like, whether it be an airbag issue, a wiring problem, or something drivability. Always seems like you get something in the mail. You get these things in the mail, and you wonder if you're not having any problem with the car, should you still take it in? And a lot of times I question why they even send it out to you if you're not having a problem, or if it's something that's not well known. Maybe they're just trying to get you in to sell you something. Well, if you got a question like that, you can always run it by me as well. And we also take questions on the old cars, too. Antique and classic car issues. Maybe you've got a restoration project going on and you'd like to run something past me. One of the biggest things with them, of course, is where the vehicle sits for long periods of time and the fuel goes bad. We get those brought in every week, it seems like. And there's several things that needs to be done in those cases. So if you want to run something like that past me, a lot of folks just have these beautiful old antique classic cars sitting in their garage, and they've been sitting there for years, and I wonder why. There's so much fun to be had with these older antique and classics. Folks, you got to get them out, knock the dust off of them, get them up and running, and take them out and enjoy them. And a lot of these cars are vehicles that have been willed to another generation, and where it belonged to their grandfather or something like that. And those vehicles, it's important to keep them going. You are pretty much the custodian of that car once it's been willed to you, from a relative. And I mean, there's always sentimental value that goes along with them, but you want to keep that vehicle up and running, and you want to be able to pass it on to another part of a generation, so you are the custodian. It's up to you to keep them up and running and take care of them until you pass them on. But these older vehicles, you want to take care of them, and they don't depreciate in value. They're always worth what they're worth, so kind of keep that in mind. But whether it be recalls, technical service bulletins, I have all that information here. So if you got a new vehicle and you've been beating your head against the wall and to no avail, and nobody's getting the problem straightened out for you, give us a call. I don't care if it's a 2023. I have all the recall and technical service bulletin information right here at my fingertips, so we can always look it up and see if there's something that your local dealer or the technicians there are missing, and maybe we can give you an idea what's going on, and you may be able to give them a clue. 844-580-9326, 844-580-WDBO. You can give our producer, Josh, the year, make, and model of your vehicle, a description of your problem, and you'll be placed on a brief hold, and we'll get to your call in the order that we receive it. And remember, for immediate help, you can call our shop number and speak to my general manager, JD, at 407-629-2661. If he doesn't pick up, he can only take one call at a time. He can't put them on hold because everything is forwarded from the shop to his cell phone. So if you can't get a hold of him, just leave a message, and he'll be more than glad to give you a call back as soon as he gets a chance. We also want to mention the open mic option. Josh has already pointed it out. You can go to WDBO.com on your smartphone, and if you don't already have it, you can download the app, and you can leave us an open mic car question. Just give us the year, make, and model in about 30 seconds, and the issue that you're having, and we'll get to those open mic calls at the bottom of the 4 o'clock news break. And you can also use the open mic feature for a lot of other things too. Traffic reports, stuff like that. You see an accident, you can hit that open mic feature and just hit the button and go ahead and record a message. Hey, there's a terrible accident here on I-4 or whatever. That way other folks know to try to avoid that area. So it's a great tool for everybody here in Central Florida to have on their smartphone. Hey, you can also ask a car question by emailing me, Larry at magicmechanic.com. I can't guarantee I get to all of them. We usually get 10-15 during the course of the show, but I'll try to pick a couple of them out and get to them. If I can't get them, fit them in during the course of the program here in the next 2 hours, I will do my best to get it answered for you by the first of the week. All right, let's go ahead and kick off the show. We're going to go to George. I know I spoke to George. George is a longtime listener and friend of the Magic Mechanic program, and he called in last week and he asked about getting white wall tires cleaned. He got a new set of tires put on his car, and they looked horrible because the white walls looked terrible. George, tell us how you made out with this.
Larry, you are a genius.
What a way to start a show.
Yeah, I got those Brillo pads at Walgreens with the soap in them, and I went to, speak fast, went to the barber shop to get a haircut, and this old boy comes in, and he wants to borrow $5. So I said, well, I'll tell you, I'll give you $5, but you got to work for it. I said, see those pads there? I said, Dave will give you a bucket here, water. You go out there, you get them things coconut clean, and you got it. I said, yes, sir, yes, sir. Let me tell you, Larry, he got them so clean. So beautiful now.
So when they hold up those "I'll work for food" signs, you put their butts to work.
Yeah, Absolutely, yeah. I'll give you the money, buddy, but you got to work for it.
So you sent him out there and made him clean your white walls. I'll be daggone.
Absolutely. I ain't going to give you $5 for nothing. But, you know,
Love it.
Larry, just to tell you, you know, white wall tires are falling out of favor, you know. You remember the binder I gave you, all the classic cars.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That 56 light blue Cadillac convertible. Can you imagine that car with black walls?
Oh, no, no. You know what it really puts me in mind of is one of the cars. You know, when I was a young man, I had a lot of performance old muscle cars and stuff, you know. But then I wound up with this 1973 Mercury Montego. Two-door car, had the factory mags on it, and it did have white walls on it. And I'm telling you, that car it was just beautiful. It was absolutely gorgeous. And, you know, the thing is, it's not just white wall tires. It's any tires that have white lettering on them. You know, you need to take just a soapy Brillo pad to them, and it's not going to hurt the white wall at all. You know, it's amazing when you've been in the automotive business as long as I have. I just assume everybody knew to use a soapy Brillo pad on their white walls. So you must
have a lot of happy people out there now that they know the secret.
But yeah, some cars.
Appreciate it. I'm so proud of that car. You know that.
Oh, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Hey, George, thank you so much for checking in with us and letting us know how it turned out for you.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, George, Bill, Ed. Hang on for us. We're going to grab a quick break here, come back with more of the Magic Mechanic Show. If you got a question for Larry Perry, call right now, 844-580-9326, 844-580-WDBO, and also send in those open mics. Got about an hour left until we hit those, go through those, get those questions answered. You're listening to the Magic Mechanic Show right here on WDBO.
Now,
welcome back to the Magic Mechanic Show right here on WDBO. This is your chance to talk to an expert in the automotive field. I know we got a lot of holiday travel plans coming up. Maybe you'll want to get a virtual tune-up where you just kind of call me up and give me the year, make, and model, and Larry says, you know what, I'll take it from here, Josh. This is the problem. I know we got plenty of people calling in, Ed, Bill, Danny, all these people. If you want to call in right now, 844-580-9326, 844-580-WDBO. Let's head on up to Winter Park where Ed's got a question. Ed, go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon, Larry. How are you doing?
We're doing great, Ed.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I have a 19 Honda Pilot, and just recently, out of the blue, when it's parked in the garage or at my wife's work, it's my wife's car, the panic button goes off, and the horn's honking, the lights are flashing, and people are complaining, and it just keeps going on and on and on.
Now,
so I really don't know what to do with it.
Okay, is this after you have walked away from the vehicle? It's not while you're walking away. It's after you've parked it, you walk away, and then all of a sudden somebody tells you that the alarm's going off?
Yes.
Okay. Listen, I'm going to tell you what I think is going to be the best bet here, Ed, and I'm going to tell you why. You're not the only one with issues with this. And this is really, I'm looking at this technical service bulletin, and there's evidently been a lot of complaints about the walk-away alarm feature on this vehicle. And Honda is coming back and saying that a lot of these things are actually normal, which I'm like, you guys got to be kidding me. This is how crazy this gets, and I'll just throw this out there at you. What you're going to have to try to do to start with is make sure that and this is where it really gets crazy. You need to make sure that the transmitter, your actual key fob, is a certain distance away from your cell phone. Now, every woman in the world is going to have her key fob and the cell phone in her purse. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And what's happening is there's some reason or other, if you've got a cell phone too close to that, when you walk away from the vehicle, it's not actually recognizing the correct signal. Somehow or other, the cell phone is interrupting that, and it's kind of encrypted. And what it does is it sits there and does these self-tests. Next thing you know, you've got a panic button or an alarm going off in the car.
Right.
It would be easier for me to literally, I would try to, well, you know what? I wouldn't be able to copy and paste this. I don't know. You're in Winter Park, right? Why don't you do this?
Yes.
Email me, Larry@magicmechanic.com. And then what I'll do is I'm going to print this, and then I will give it to JD and Glenn, and they'll have it in the front of the office. And you stop by and pick this up. That way you can read this for yourself. Because there is a function that you can go into on your display, and you can actually turn this system off, from what I understand. And what I would probably recommend you to do is try to turn this system off, and then try it for a couple days. If you don't have the problem with it, then I would probably take it back to Honda and say, here's the TSB on this, and, we don't really have this particular issue, so we really are thinking that it's something, that's lock-related or something along those lines. But this is the only way that you're going to be able to start this process to get this problem fixed. I'm going to tell you that point blank. It is because if you just take this back to the dealer and tell them your alarm's going off intermittently, you know exactly what's going to happen. We couldn't duplicate it, and here's your key. But this I think would be the best way to do it. Like I said, I can't copy and paste this. I can only print it, and then I'll have it. That way you can read up on this itself. This information should be available to all consumers. You shouldn't have to know a secret handshake and call up a radio program to get the information. Right. But we've got it, and you're going to get it. So I'll get this printed out. Go ahead.
Because the center console, like the power comes on as well in the middle of the night.
That's going to run a battery down too.
Exactly. I don't want to leave her stranded anywhere.
Yeah. So there's more issues going on with this. I mean, it could be an anti-theft control module. It could be a body control module. And I'm going to tell you just how crazy this could get. It could be a door latch switch that is intermittently making contact. It could be a bad door latch switch. And see, what will happen is if it breaks contact in the middle of the night, the darn car thinks it's being stolen. And see, so those are the types of things that you may wind up having to deal with. But see, if you take it back, as complicated as this TSB is on this car and this particular problem, if you take it back to them, their job is to basically tell you there's nothing wrong with the car. I'm just telling you, that's what this TSB, after a whole entire page, is basically supposedly telling the consumer. And this is actually aimed at the service writer. That's what this particular TSB is. So if you don't go in there with your guns loaded, you're not going to get this problem resolved. I guarantee you. Maybe after 10 tries, but if you've got this TSB in hand and you read this and you already know everything that's going on with this and what to try as far as going into your display mode and turning the system off. If you still got a problem, I'm going to say it's probably a door latch switch, whether it be in the tailgate, one of your regular entry doors, something along those. It can even be a hood close switch that can be getting an intermittent contact. But they're going to have a little more information. If not, then what's going to happen is, like I said, they're just going to throw the key fob back to you and tell you they couldn't duplicate the problem. It'd be a wasted trip. Ed, thank you so much for your call, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Magic Mechanic Radio Show right here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. My name's Josh McCarthy, answering your phone calls, putting you on the air with the one and only Magic Mechanic himself, Larry Perry. The number to call is 844-580-9326, 844-580 WDBO. Maybe you got something going on with your car. Maybe one of the thousands of error codes pop up and you want to know exactly how important that one is. If I got to go right to Larry, if I can get home from work or something like that, now is your time to call 844-580 WDBO. Or maybe you're like Bill, who's calling in, just wants to know, hey Bill, or hey Larry, if you were me, what would you do? Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, how you doing, Larry? I really respect your opinion, and you take care of my car now with the AMSOIL. I'm getting ready to retire, and I'd like to buy a new pickup. But what ones do you have little trouble with? I'd like them to last.
Bill, I tell you, that's really a hard. It's really a hard question to answer. Toyota makes a great pickup truck, but there's certain engines that I don't really like. Ford, the F-150s, they make some great vehicles, but there's some of the engines I just don't care for. Same way with General Motors. It would depend on the engine itself, I think. And providing that somebody was planning on running, AMSOIL in the engine as well, that right there that's 90% of the battle, really, when you get down to it. GM.
Well, I plan on using the AMSOIL, but the GM has a 4-cylinder turbo, and I don't think that's enough for a pickup.
I'm not a fan of that. I'm not really a fan of the 2.7. Those are extremely small for a pickup truck if you ever want to do anything other than drive it to the grocery store. And I feel the same way about 2.7s and the F-150s. I just think it's way underpowered, and it'll do about anything you want, but it requires so much boost to get it to that point. Long-term boost on a motor that's turboed, you can only expect to compress so much pressure in a cylinder long-term. I'm like, well, I want the engine to be able to do a little on its own without having to use a turbo, even though my pickup truck does have twin turbos on it. But that 3.5 motor has just been a very, very well proven engine. They've held up, flawlessly with AMSOIL in them. We've literally had no problems with them at all. The only ones we replace are usually fleet vehicles that get an oil change once in a while and they don't use AMSOIL. Those are the only ones, and those are usually around a couple 100,000 miles, so I'm not even going to say it's bad. The Toyotas, if you bought a new Toyota Tundra with a 5.7 in it, those have been incredible vehicles. They have held up extremely well. They're trying to put 3.5 turbos in those, and I'm not a fan of it. We are having 3.5 engine problems with the Tacomas. I said, well, if they don't hold up in a little Tacoma, they darn sure ain't going to hold up too well in a full-size Tundra.
How about it?
Go ahead.
How about a Dodge?
It's like this. If I was to buy a Dodge, I'm not a fan of the Hemis or the 3.6 Pentastar motors. Because of the camshaft and rocker arm problems that they've all been plagued with over the years. Those are the types of things where, Bill, I tell folks before they go out and buy something, it doesn't hurt to spend some time online, and whatever vehicle that you're considering buying, put in, Dodge Ram engine problems or Dodge Ram transmission problems. Same thing with GM and Ford and everybody else. And kind of look and see what consumers, these will be independent kind of, it's not going to be, usually those types of reviews are disinterested third parties. They're not, nobody's padding anybody's pocket, so you can kind of get an idea. And I always tell folks, I don't believe it's a good idea to run out and buy a first year anything. It's just, there needs to be some sort of an established track record with any vehicle before you run out here and buy it. I don't want to be anybody's guinea pig at $70,000 or $80,000 for a new truck. That's kind of ridiculous. Right. So I want to make sure whatever I get, I'm going to wind up having it in my garage instead of it sitting in the garage at the dealership. So, you want to make sure that it's got a good track record on it. And there's a lot of vehicles out there that do. The F-150s with the 5.0 motors, they hold up extremely well. The 3.5 EcoBoosts are holding up good. The Toyota Tundras with the 5.7 V8, those things are just, you can't hardly kill them no matter what you do. A Dodge, if you're going into a heavier truck, like a 250, 2500 or 3500 series, to pull a motorhome or a big camper, you can't beat the Cummins 6-cylinder diesel. I mean, that is just a tried and true. You beat it to death and you just can't kill it. So there's a lot of good options out there. I would want to go with an engine and transmission combination that has proven itself for at least a few years before I go out here and spend a lot of money on it. GM on the other hand, they've had a few problems with their 8-speed transmission. So there's particular combinations that you just got to kind of really weigh out. Nobody's going to make a perfect vehicle, number one. But when you see so many of them plagued with the same problems over and over and over, we got a slap in the face when Jasper told us, Jasper's, pretty much the largest engine transmission remanufacturing company in the United States, and rightfully so. They make excellent products. Well, when they told us that they weren't building 8-speed GM transmissions because they couldn't warranty them, well, that threw up a red flag. You see what I'm saying? So I guess if you got one, the first thing you need to do is AMSOIL it and hope for the best. Same thing with their differentials. It's just these companies go and they'll start building something like the Carrier in a rear end that's always been made out of just molten steel. They'll start making it out of aluminum or something, and you have a high wear aspect that takes place with these components when they do that. And these are the types of things that'll come back and haunt a car company, and you sit there and you're like, well, why did they ever do that? Well, I mean, the name of the game, I guess, when it comes to manufacturing a vehicle is make money, and so if they can find a way to, chintzy it up just a little bit and save a few bucks in the manufacturing process, whether it be the material or where it's built, that's what they seem to try to do. And, if the consumer buys the wrong combination, then it could be, devastating. But I don't think you could go wrong with an F-150 3.5 EcoBoost or a 5.0 liter motor. You got to remember that 5.0 liter motor they use in that F-150 is the same thing they put in that Mustang GT. That people go out here and literally they'll put a supercharger on them, bigger injectors. They'll have those things pumping out way over 700 horsepower, and they hold up. You can't break them. So you take it, you put the same combination in an F-150 pickup truck that's not going to be experiencing nothing like that. Well, you could expect it to last a 500,000 miles with, daggone AMSOIL in it. So it's just when you see proven stuff like that over and over and over, that's the kind of thing that you want to read up on, and that way you'll have a little bit of a comfort level when you go out here and you actually start comparing prices and shopping. You'll always find a deal on an F-150 with a 2.7 motor in it. They're always going to be a lot less than a 3.5 EcoBoost or a 5.0, and there's a reason for it if you start reading reviews on it. So those are the kind of things that you're going to have to come up with a happy feeling with, So.
Well, I appreciate your knowledge, and that's what I'll do.
Just take your time and read the reviews. And if you buy a used vehicle by any means, Bill, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, I don't care if it's only got 10,000 miles on it. Make sure it gets put on a lift. You cannot imagine the trucks we'll get in that are sold locally by some of the truck dealers here in town. Used truck dealers, big used truck dealers. And they'll be from up north, and the person that buys them didn't even have a clue. And we'll get them up on the rack, and we'll sit there with a look at a vehicle that's a year old and 10,000 miles and go, what in the world? You'd have thought they must have fished it out of the ocean. It was so rusted up. So it like I said,
that's salt.
Yes, sir. It's come from up north. So even though if you consider a used one, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with buying a used one. I won't buy a brand new vehicle. I'll buy something that somebody's already bought, low mileage and maybe a year or two old. I don't like to take the initial depreciation on anything. But in a case like this, you find one with 10,000 miles. Bottom line is it's probably perfect. Just make darn sure that it gets put up on a lift, and you visually look at it yourself. Crawl up underneath there and look just to make sure you know what you're buying. Bill, I do appreciate your call, and you have a rest of your wonderful weekend, sir.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bill. That opens up a line for you to get your question on the air with Larry Perry, the Magic Mechanic. 844-580-9326. 844-580 WDBO. Danny, hang on. We're going to grab a quick break, and we'll get to your call right after this, along with anybody else who wants to call in. The phones are open for you. 844-580-9326, or send us an open mic. We'll be right back with more of the Magic Mechanic Radio Show. Larry Perry himself. The number to call is 844-580-9326. 844-580 WDBO, or feel free to open up your WDBO app free in the App Store or Play Store and send us an open mic. That way we'll get to it in just about 45 minutes. Larry, what do you say we take Mark? Mark is calling in from Orlando. Go ahead, Mark.
Hi there, Larry.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, I've got a 2004 Toyota Tacoma. It's got about 206,000 miles on it. Love that little truck. Started to develop a little bit of lifter knock. When I'm sitting at a red light, I can kind of hear it. I'm just curious if, I don't really want to spend a lot of money on the truck because she's coming towards the end of her life. Well, not really, but I may be looking to buy something else. But I'm just wondering if I can calm that down with additives or oil or anything else, as opposed to, taking it in and getting the valve covers taken off and everything.
On that engine, Mark, I believe that one uses a shim and bucket to actually adjust the lash between the cam and the bucket that goes over top of the valve. On those, there's I don't think there's anything hydraulic in it to compensate. I mean, you could put, you could dump anything in the motor. I don't think it would make any difference. It's going to need to have the valve clearances checked in the engine if you think it's a ticking type of lifter valve adjustment type of situation. On those, you have to pull the cam covers on them, and you got to get the cam lobes as far away from the shim and bucket as you can, and just take a filler gauge underneath of it and find out if you've got one that's excessive. A lot of times you can listen to the engine run and kind of figure out which side of the motor it is. I mean, it's like this. It's a little bit of work to do a valve adjustment on one of them, but you're probably talking about a $7 shim in order to fix it. And in some cases, if it's the shim itself that's worn, a lot of times a technician can actually just take them and flip them over and give the cam lobe a new place to run on, and then remic it and with a filler gauge and see if your clearances is back in spec or not. But oil, changing oil or an additive or something like that, it's not going to fix it. See, if it was a hydraulic bucket or a hydraulic lifter per se, a thicker oil might do something, or if you run an engine flush through it, it might do something. The problem with it is you get a lot of engines like that. They go through their whole entire life, and they never get a valve adjustment because people don't know that it needs to have one. But the Toyotas with the 4.7 engines, the 3.4 motors, I think some of the 4.0 motors, there's even on the Honda 3.5 motors, those are all adjustable valve trains. And, the unfortunate part is most people don't ever bother having the valves checked or adjusted, and those are the engines that you wind up with burnt valves because as things wear, the valves become tighter and you lose any clearance at all, and usually you wind up getting a burnt valve on account of it. If you hear one ticking, that's actually a good thing. You know that the valve's not too tight, but that needs to be checked. All your adjustments on all your valves need to be checked, and the one that's got excessive clearance in it, which is the one that's ticking, needs to be addressed. If they get too loose, Mark, what'll happen is on a motor like that it uses a shim over bucket, it'll actually flip the shim out. And then the next thing you know, the cam lobe comes around and hits the retainer on the valve and knocks the keepers off. Then you drop a valve down on top of a piston. And then it's toast at that point. So, when you get a ticking in an engine, when you get a ticking in a motor, it's not something that you should really ignore. It's something that should be addressed. I know nobody wants to spend money on anything, but, in your case, it sounds like it's been awful good to you. And, what'll really kind of change your tune with this is go online at Craigslist or Auto Trader or something like that and put in 2004 Toyota Tacoma. And just when you get an idea of what those things sell for, even with 200,000 miles on it, you're going to look at this from a whole new perspective. It's going to be, what, I think maybe I will get a valve adjustment done on that. It seems like what's funny about those Tacomas, and I kid around about this a lot with my guys at the shop. I say, what? I said, it seems like the more miles they put on those vehicles, the more they ask for them. You'll see one with 280,000. You'll see one with 280,000 miles on it, and they'll want, for even an 04, and they'll want $15,000 and $16,000 for the truck. I'm like, seriously, it seems like the more miles they put on those little trucks, the more they think they're worth. And I guess they sell them for those crazy amounts as well. But, Mark, yeah, definitely give that some thought. Look it up yourself. Google the daylights out of it and see, put in there 04 Tacoma valve adjustment, and you'll see just how important that is. Fixing it now will save you a whole lot of money compared to what it'll wind up costing you down the road. Thanks for the call, and you have a great weekend.
Thank you so much, Mark. That opens up a line for you to get on with Larry right now. Give us a call, 844-580-9326. 844-580-WDBO. Get on the air with Larry Perry. Welcome back to the Magic Mechanic Radio Show right here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. My name is Josh McCarthy, answering your phone calls, but not your questions, because, that's where Larry comes in. Larry Perry is the expert here. He is the Magic Mechanic, here taking your calls, answering your questions for the low, low price of free. Pick up your phone right now and call 844-580-9326, 844-580-WDBO. We're also about a half an hour away from your open mics. Go ahead and send them in, and we'll go through those just after 4:30. Larry, how you doing today?
We're doing fantastic, Josh. Hey, welcome to the second hour of the Magic Mechanic Radio Show. It's a show where you call in, you ask your automotive question, and you can't really beat the price because it's free. That number is 844-580-WDBO. That's the easiest way to remember it, 844-580-WDBO. If you're one of those numerically folks, I guess, 844-580-9326. But I can't remember all that. I can remember 844 and 580 WDBO. So go ahead and give us a call. Josh, get your call lined up, and I'll get to it before the end of the program. I guarantee it. Also, we take your automotive questions and my comments, and we put them on our new YouTube channel so other folks can maybe find the same help you seek, even many years from now. Plus, you can play it back anytime you want. That number again is 844-580-WDBO, 844-580-9326. And to speak to JD at the Magic Mechanic Shop, that number's 407-629-2661. Folks, our sponsors are very important to the show. We all pitch in to bring you the program every week. So if you enjoy it, please patronize our sponsors and tell them you heard about them here on the Magic Mechanic Radio Show. Orlando Auto Upholstery, any type of interior, convertible tops, carpet seats, headliners, anything that has to do with an automobile interior, Orlando Auto Upholstery can take care of it. And they do great work, and they're very, very affordable. You can visit them at OrlandoAutoUpholstery.com. Call them at 407-898-2351. And, of course, my favorite flavor of engine oil, AMSOIL synthetic lubricants for your car, truck, van, SUV, boat, motorcycle. Folks, you got to remember, a lot of the listeners that's been listening to this program since from the early 1990s until, present date, have been using AMSOIL along with me, and that's pretty much the only oil we sell at Magic Mechanic. And the reason for it being is engines and transmissions just don't really wear out. They'll outlast the vehicle. You're always going to have, brakes and tires and AC issues and things with any vehicle if you keep it long enough. But if you don't have to worry about buying engines and transmissions, that's a deal. And that's a cheap vehicle to keep for around as long as you want to. So if you want to learn more about AMSOIL or how to keep your engine and transmission going for years and years and years, and you don't even have to change it very often, we only recommend once a year over 15,000 miles. To find out more, go to amsoil.com. Jasper Engines and Transmissions. When it does come time to repower an engine or transmission, a fleet vehicle, maybe it's a van that you have to use for work, or maybe it's a handicap van. Any of this stuff that is extremely, extremely expensive to replace, all vehicles are nowadays. But you got to look at it like this. If you can repower a vehicle with a new motor or transmission and you get a 100,000-mile warranty on that engine and the labor that went along with it, that's not really taking a chance in the whole scheme of things. So those types of warranties, a 100,000-mile nationwide warranty on any of the Jasper products, it's just unbeatable. To find out more, or if you find out more about Jasper, go to jasperengines.com. And if Magic Mechanic can help you, give us a call. We'll give you a complete price with the install kit and out the door on any of those major engine or transmissions that you may want to, inquire about to repower your vehicle. And of course, last but not least, is my place, the Magic Mechanic Auto Service Center. We're located in Orlando, Florida. Engines, transmissions, brakes, suspension, steering, electrical repairs, and of course, AMSOIL synthetic lubricants. We also offer the $8.99 a day rental vehicles while we have your car, but you do have to call us and make sure that we can reserve one for you. We have about 15, and they're usually always out, so people reserve those ahead of time, before they drop their vehicles off. And hey, you can't beat the price. It's almost free. You can visit us at magicmechanic.com or email me directly, larry@magicmechanic.com. All right, we're going to go to Danny. He's got a 2020 Ford Transit cargo van. Danny, tell us what's going on with this thing.
Well, good afternoon, and how are y'all doing today?
We're doing great. Thanks for hanging on as long as you have, Danny.
Not a problem. I'm still at work, so it gives me something to do.
All right.
Yeah, I've got this van. We use it for delivery at our work. It's got about 80,000 miles on it, and just in the last couple of weeks, it has started skipping. Well, I call it skipping. So it might be considered jumping. Happens when you're accelerating. Happens when you're cruising along. There's no check engine light. Doesn't seem to, the weather or nothing seems to have any difference. Took it to my regular mechanic, who is terrific. I trust him explicitly, and he couldn't seem to find anything wrong with the ignition system. So before I take it to the dealership, I thought I'd give the greatest automotive knowledge person in Orlando a try.
All right. Well, Danny, I'm going to tell you, your mechanic that you've been using, what he's looking for is, when he scanned it, he's looking for misfire codes, and usually on a vehicle like that, it'll set a code. Like if you've got a misfire on number 1 cylinder or number 5 or 6 or whatever. And if he's not getting that misfire code to kind of point him into the direction of an ignition coil or a insulator on the coil or possibly a spark plug, see, all he would be doing is pretty much just sheer guesswork. And the dealer is going to be facing the same thing if there's not a misfire code in the computer system itself. Now, this could go on for a long time. I'm going to tell you my gut feeling on this. Do you know which engine is in this? Is it a 3.5?
I believe it is, but I'm not really sure, Larry. I didn't check that.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, this is kind of what we see. The valve covers on that motor, they're made out of plastic. Yep, plastic. I mean, who would have ever thunk it? Plastic valve covers on a motor. Well, over time, just from the heat, that plastic will distort a little bit. Now, you've got more going on there than just sealing external oil leaks. You've also got spark plug well seals that's integrated into that plastic valve cover. And what can happen is over time, a little bit of heat getting in there and that plastic distorts a little bit, and it starts allowing a little bit of oil to seep down into the spark plug cavity, which is just a deep well that runs right through the valve cover right on into the cylinder head. And what it'll do is that little bit of seepage of oil might get down in there, and it starts accumulating over a period of time. Next thing you know, it gets over the bottom of the spark plug, and it starts oil saturating the insulator that runs from the ignition coil down to the spark plug. And when that oil starts saturating that insulator, you'll start getting these intermittent daggone misfires. And sometimes the computer will pick it up, sometimes it won't. But I'm sure your tech that you're using, I'm sure he scanned it and he didn't see a misfire code, probably couldn't duplicate your problem. And so therefore what winds up happening is he's afraid to, it sounds like a trustworthy guy. Me personally, what I would have done in a case like this is probably said, listen, Danny, what we should do is just pull all the coils out of the engine and look to see if there's any oil saturation on them, just to inspect them. You see what I'm saying? And if there is one with oil on it, then, hey, it's probably going to wind up needing to have the valve covers. In some cases, those valve covers, like if you remember earlier part of my conversation here, plastic, a lot of times we just replace the whole cover, because it's plastic, I mean, how much heat do you think it's going to be able to withstand? Now, here comes the other question. This being a 2020 model Ford Transit cargo van, you think you're still under some type of a warranty, or do you think it has exceeded that? I know it's a work van, and I usually, have you checked into that?
I did, and it has exceeded the warranty on that.
Okay, all right.
Stuff. So.
You know what? I'm going to tell you. I know this is a company vehicle, but realistically, if you've got a guy that you trust, Danny, it might be in your best interest to take it back to him and have him pull those coils out. It's not that big of a job. Well, anything with a van is a pain, in the rear, but. The bottom line is, in this particular case, I'd probably have him go ahead and yank the coils out of this thing and just do an inspection on them. And at 80,000 mile, it's not going to hurt a thing to go ahead and throw a fresh set of spark plugs in it. And I would at least, if I didn't see anything with those insulators, I'd probably go ahead and replace the insulators, which are just the rubber boots, and put a fresh set of spark plugs in it and take it. If he sees one that's got anything weird going on with the coil, any markings or anything like that, I would definitely go ahead and replace a coil too while I was in there if I seen anything wrong with it and if I didn't have any codes, but you just want to inspect it closely. But this is really all that can be done, whether you take it back to your tech and tell him what I said, or whether you take it to the dealer. I think they're all going to pretty much point you in that same direction, because an intermittent misfire like that, and if it's not setting a code, and anybody out there that's in this industry will tell you nowadays on cars, usually it will set a misfire code for a particular cylinder if you've got that going on. But what it is, it has to happen within a few key cycles repetitively. If it doesn't, then of course sometimes it don't store the code. But I would almost bet money you're dealing with a coil, insulator, or spark plug issue, most likely coil or insulator. And if we see oil on it, we're going to flip a coin on whether to try a new set of gaskets or just replace the valve covers itself with the new gaskets already in them from Ford. Danny, thank you so much for your call, and I hope this helps you.
You bet. Thanks a lot, and Merry Christmas.
Hey, same to you.
Thank you so much, Danny. That opens up a line for you to get on with Larry Perry right now. The number is 844-580-9326, 844-580-9326. WDBO. More of your questions, more of Larry's answers. The Magic Mechanic Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Magic Mechanic Radio Show right here on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580. Also, always streaming live in the WDBO app, no matter where you are in the world. Open up that app, push play, and you can listen to WDBO. Also, you'll find the feature Open Mic inside there, where if you want to talk to Larry, want to leave him a message, but maybe you're in a hurry, go ahead and open that app, download an open mic, send an open mic, and then we'll answer that here in about 10 minutes. The number to talk to him live on the air is 844-580-9326, 844-580-WDBOs. Larry, what do you say we head on up to Ocoee, where Scott's got a question about his 2022 ProMaster. Go ahead, Scott.
Hi. Hey, Larry. This is my third ProMaster with the company that I work for. And we've historically had transmission problem after transmission problem, on and on. Blend door problems and broken motor and transmission mount problems. What can I do besides dune jumping, or not dune jumping, can I do to prevent these from happening on my new vehicle?
Well, Scott, listen, I'm gonna try to fit a lot in here for your answer. Of course, these vehicles use that Pentastar 3.6 V6. Josh, can you pot him down just a little bit? It's a little bit noisy. There you go. They use these Pentastar 3.6 V6 Dodge motors. They use that engine in the Dodge, Chryslers, and Jeeps. And what's really common on them is the ticking noises that you develop. And I'm sure if you've owned enough of these, you know what I'm talking about. Now, these engines are widely used. They're used in Chrysler Pacifica minivans, the Chrysler Voyager minivans, Chrysler 300s, Dodge Challengers, Dodge Chargers, Dodge Durangos, the Jeep Gladiators, the Grand Cherokees, the Jeep Wranglers, the Ram 1500s, and they use them in the ProMaster vans and the ProMaster conversions where they actually convert them to motorhomes. And on these engines, there is no direct lubrication for the roller rocker arms. And the result is usually within 100,000 miles or less, the needle bearings and the roller rocker arms fail, and they allow the rollers to start making a clicking, ticking noise. And if not addressed pretty soon, the rollers will allow the rocker arm to rotate to one side and depress the valve spring retainer. And instead of the valve, when this happens, it allows the keepers that retain the valve to the valve springs to dislodge, and the valve will slide down into the cylinder and make piston contact. And at this point, it usually requires an engine replacement. If you hear this noise and you can get them taken care of soon enough, a lot of times replacing the rocker arms will prevent the whole entire engine failure. When we get these in where the rocker arms are starting to fail, what we wind up doing is usually get the rocker arms replaced, and then we'll go and we'll instead of that 020 oil, we'll put in the AMSOIL 0W30. Now you got to remember, with a polyalpha synthetic oil, what winds up happening is that oil has the ability to run to heat and friction, as opposed to getting hot and thin and running away from it. And that's what keeps those needle bearings and those rockers from failing and causing the engines to fail. It's a simple solution, but nobody wants to listen or to go to that extra effort. But it does the same thing inside of a transmission. Once you got something in there that runs to heat and friction, and keeps the seals conditioned and keeps them from getting hard and brittle, and the fluids start bypassing, you've got components that can just about last forever. But it's all because of lubrication, every bit of it. And the thing is, when it comes to fleet vehicles like yours, Scott, what it is, it's everybody's wanting to look at the bottom dollar instead of the end result, and that's a problem. You can't save money on using lesser or inexpensive lubrication. On any of those vehicles, it's going to save the company a lot of money just by simply going and switching them all over to a product like AMSOIL. And I don't sell 20-weight oils, and that's what's required in those 3.6s. And, so anybody that's got one of those vehicles that I mentioned with that 3.6 in it, I'm telling you, change from what you're using for engine lubricant to the Amsoil Zero W30 if you're not already using it. It's a widespread problem. We replace so many of those motors, and Jasper's is so backed up that it's liable to take 3 months to get one. That's the reason I say, just run the Amsoil and avoid the problem to start with. I mean, you're talking run Amsoil or either be facing a potential $8,000 or $9,000 engine replacement. It's just not worth it. Run the Amsoil and be done with it. So anybody that buys one of them vehicles used, if it's not ticking now, put Amsoil in it. You're going to extend the life of the motor considerably. But the Amsoil and a ProMaster van, Scott, I'm going to tell you right now, that is the secret to success. I wouldn't own one. I wouldn't even want to start one if it didn't have Amsoil in it, and I'm not kidding you. Thanks for the call, and you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you so much, Scott. That opens up a line for you to get on the air with Larry Perry, 844-580-9326, 844-580-WDBO. We can also send us an open mic, in which case we're going to go through them right now. But while Larry answers this first one, if you had a question pop up into your head, go ahead and send it to us. Download the free WDBO app and hit the open mic button, and we'll answer it in no time. Larry, what do you say we hit this open mic?
Let's go to work.
Hello, this is Jim in DeLand, Florida. I have a reciprocating cast iron air compressor. I'd like to know what type of oil is used in that air compressor. Thanks very much. Look forward to hearing your answer, Larry.
What I would tell you to do is go to amsoil.com. They have all types of air compressor oils. Me personally, we have one compressor at Magic Mechanic with the original pump on it from 1988. And the only thing it has ever been lubricated with is Amsoil, their compressor oil. And to be honest with you, it doesn't get it frequently enough. But we still use that compressor as a backup for our main larger compressor. So you go and figure that thing has been in service since 1988. Many, many years. And it has had nothing but the Amsoil synthetic compressor oil. Give that a check out and try to use it. I think it'll benefit you.
Thank you so much. Again, you can find that open mic feature right there in the WDBO app, or pick up the phone right now and dial 844-580-9326, 844-580-WDBO. Maybe you got a question that has to have you give out some very specific information, and you'd prefer to do that off the air. Well, you can call Larry's shop directly. That number is 407-629-2661. 407-629-2661. Right now we got Gary on hold. Gary's talking to us from Orlando. You got something going on with your Toyota. Go ahead, Gary.
Hi. Yes. Toyota RAV4 Hybrid Limited 2017. The inside of the car when I'm driving and on a regular speed, and then when I accelerate to like 30, 40, 50 miles an hour, the inside of the car feels like one window is slightly opened, and it gives the little sound. Okay. And before that happened, my windshield was cracked, so windshield got repaired. I thought it was the reason, so they came in twice. They repaired it, and they sealed it again 3 times, and it still continues. I had a little minor rear-ended. Somebody on the red light stop just bumped a little bit onto me, and the bumper was repaired. But other than that, no other changes have happened, but all of a sudden this started.
Okay. Well, if the rear end accident wasn't severe, I doubt very seriously it tweaked the body enough to create an air leak. Gary, do you recall having this before the windshield itself was replaced?
No. Before that, I wasn't having it. Started after the windshield, but the windshield guy came in, and they replaced the first time. Then I called them again. They came in second time. And then the third time the guy came in, removed everything, unglued everything, and then glue it back up. And they sealed it, everything. And I don't know. It still continues.
Okay. Now, I have run into this in a couple different occasions, and I'm going to tell you, the first thing that I would probably do is get some masking tape, and some real wide masking tape, and go all around the whole entire front of that windshield itself, and then take the car out and drive it. Also, where the actual fender meets the door, maybe put a strip of masking tape down on each side of that, just to exclude that from actually having a wind noise or leak, so to speak. Now, I'm going to tell you, there is something else here, and I hope this isn't the case. A lot of times, Gary, whenever a windshield gets replaced, if you look at one from another vehicle, and a lot of times if you look at, like in the left or right lower corner, not only will it have the manufacturer's name on it, like Toyota, but sometimes you will see that they will be something else inscribed in that glass, or actually made into the glass. And a lot of times it'll say Sound Shield. And what that means is that there is a special treatment done to that windshield in order to prevent it from making the types of noises that you're describing. Almost all Ford trucks have what they call a sound shield on the windshield itself. It's actually made into the glass itself. And if you use something other than an original Ford or the manufacturer's glass itself, sometimes the road noise is it's just ridiculous. And I was really surprised. I had to see this firsthand for myself. We had a customer come in with the exact same complaint, and it was on a Toyota as well. As a matter of fact, it was on a Lexus. And they had actually replaced it with an aftermarket windshield as opposed to the factory one. And what wound up happening was it did not have the sound deadening feature in the glass itself. I was blown away. I mean, it literally sounded like you were riding in the caboose of an Amtrak train. It was that noisy. You heard everything. Everything the tires ran over. I mean, it was like literally like riding in a railroad car. And I'm sitting there, I couldn't believe what a difference it actually made. But they whined and complained enough with their insurance company until the glass company actually put in an original equipment Lexus windshield. And I guess the reason they didn't want to use an Lexus windshield was because the original equipment windshield was, I think it was almost $1,000 more than the aftermarket one that the glass company installed. So, do a little research when it comes to that, because I have a funny feeling that that's what's going on with it. If it was just if it was just a lousy seal where they actually glued the new glass in, and they've done it twice now, and you still have the same exact problem. If it wasn't sealed correctly, you'd probably be getting some water or something like that in the car. But since you're not getting water in the car, my gut feeling is it's probably the quality of the glass that was used. I'm sure it looks absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong with it functioning. But if it doesn't have that sound shield, and it was supposed to, it will literally, you will hear wind noises. You're going to hear almost everything that the tires come in contact with. It makes it for a very noisy interior of your vehicle. But I would go online and I would start searching this very particular problem, because what you're going to find is the aftermarket glass that they most likely used does not have the sound shield quality that the original glass came with. And that's really about all I can elaborate on with this particular issue. But it's quite common, and we had a customer in the shop with the very same problem after they had gotten their vehicle back from a body shop. So I hope that helps.
How do I know which is the original Toyota windshield? Like, where do I find that information?
What you're going to do is you're going to look on the lower corners of your windshield. If it's a Toyota windshield, it's going to have it on there, Gary. It's going to actually be printed on there. It'll have Toyota on the bottom of the glass itself. You will actually be able to see it. And chances are you won't. It probably is not an original equipment Toyota windshield.
Yeah, this one says C Cam Automotive.
Yeah, see, that's it's an aftermarket windshield, and that's the reason that you most likely are running into the issue. It doesn't have the sound deadening features built into the glass itself. So look it up online and see what your glass actually contains. It'll probably say anything but the sound deadening feature of the glass itself. And then look it up, and you're going to find other people throughout the world that's ran into the same problem. And that'll just tell you, you're going to need to call the glass company up and say this isn't a original equipment glass. Call your insurance company up as well and tell them the same thing. Say the car is so noisy inside, it sounds like I'm driving without a windshield now. And say I've been told that it's most likely the sound deadening feature is not included in this aftermarket windshield that they put in your vehicle. Gary, I appreciate your call, and we wish you the absolute best. As you venture into this, make sure you call us back and let us know what the final outcome is if they stand up and take care of it for you.
Thank you. Happy holidays. Bye-bye.
Same to you, Gary.
Thank you so much, Gary. That opens up a line for you and your question to be answered by Larry Perry, the magic mechanic himself. 844-580-9361. Larry, we just had an open mic pop up in that next break. You want to listen to that real quick?
Sure.
Here it comes.
Hi, Larry. I bought a brand new generator. Can I use AMSOIL from the beginning, or do I need to wait?
Best bet is to, I don't care if it runs for just an hour. You want to run it on the regular oil before you actually put a synthetic in it. But it needs to run a little bit, and then you need to drain what's in it out. And then I suggest using the AMSOIL 15W40, which is a, it's believe it or not, it's actually made for a diesel engine, but it is absolutely probably the best oil that I have ever run across for an air-cooled engine. We use the 15W40 in all air-cooled engines, and the reason for it being is there's two reasons. One is it's got a lot of moisture inhibitors in it, so it doesn't allow rust to take place because it's stationary equipment, not used all the time. And the oil itself has got a lot of zinc in it. See, there's no roller or anything, no roller rockers, roller cam, no roller or anything in these air-cooled motors. So you got to have a lot of zinc. If you don't have the zinc, you will accumulate wear. So the AMSOIL 15W40, and it'll say diesel on it, but don't let that deter you. That's the oil you want to run in that air-cooled engine.
Thank you so much, Larry. Got about 5 minutes left. You want to take this last call here?
Yeah, let's go ahead and take this one.
Certainly. Barbara calling from the Villages. Go ahead, Barbara.
Yes, hi. I have a problem. I have a 2020 a Santa Fe Hyundai.
Okay.
And for some reason, it hesitates. You try to turn the car on, and it goes like, and then it starts.
Okay.
I wonder what's going on.
So you're saying that the engine cranks over excessively for a longer period of time than what it should before it actually starts?
Right.
Okay.
Before was not doing it.
Okay. Is it making any funny
and
noise?
I have 75,000 on it.
Okay. Well, the mileage really shouldn't make any difference with that. Barbara, if it's not making any abnormal noises and it's just cranking longer than it should before it starts, my advice would be to, it being a 2020, I don't know, actually it's probably out of warranty for this particular problem. It would exceed it wouldn't be covered, I doubt, under the powertrain. It may be something that you'd want to call your local dealer and ask them if, with 75,000 mile, if it is still covered. But in your particular case, I would probably I would recommend to have a fuel pressure test done on it. You've got what is called a supply pump in the fuel tank, and that's what supplies the fuel pressure up to the high pressure pump, which produces about 2,000 pounds of fuel pressure for your direct injection system. Now, I would want to make sure that you were getting adequate fuel pressure from the pump in the tank itself. So wherever you take it to, whether it be the dealer or an independent shop in the area of the Villages there in Leesburg, the best place to start with that would be a fuel pressure test. And there's two different kinds of fuel pressure tests. In your particular case, I would want to have a residual fuel pressure test. This is to show me whether the pump from the tank is retaining residual pressure after you shut the vehicle off. This test usually encompasses hooking up a fuel pressure gauge, starting the vehicle up, and then let it set overnight to see if we still retain positive fuel pressure in the fuel system itself. And that would if we're losing fuel pressure when it sets overnight, that would explain why it's taking longer to start, because you have air in the fuel system, and it may take more or a longer period of time for the engine to start and reprime itself with fuel. So that's going to be the test that is going to be necessary to start with. So I'd give the dealer a call, ask them if an extended start issue is something that would be covered under your powertrain warranty. If not, seek out a good independent shop and take it to them, and just mention that it may need to have a fuel pressure test done because it's taken too long to start on the initial crank up in the morning. I appreciate your call, Barbara.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it too. Thank you.
I hope that helps you. All right, well, we got a couple minutes left here. I'm going to tell you what I want to mention is I've got an email here, and I feel bad for these people. They've got a 2014 Jeep Wrangler, and of course it's got the 3.6 motor in it that there's issues with. But in this particular case, what has happened is they drove I guess the lady's son drove the vehicle in through some water back when we were having the flooded roads and stuff from one of the previous hurricanes. And it stalled the engine, and they had it towed to a shop. And, of course, now she's in there telling me on the email that the shop they took it to finally gotten around to checking it. And, that's been a few weeks ago. So, but and that the motor itself is locked up and it needs an engine. And they gave her a quote for around $9,000 to replace this motor, which very well could be a perfectly legitimate 100% estimate. And she says that she's trying to figure out whether it's worth spending this money on this Jeep or not, it being a 2014. Well, listen, folks, a lot of people out here have ran into this exact same problem. Listen, if you've got full coverage insurance on your vehicle, call your insurance company, for goodness sakes. They will replace that engine. We've replaced 20 engines since the last hurricane, all because of water damage, and the insurance company will take care of it. So call your insurance company up before you sit there and start writing big checks for water damage to your vehicle. Thanks for tuning in, you listeners and customers and show sponsors are the reason we do the show and I have a job. You can tune in every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time in Central Florida on 107.3 FM HD Radio 96.5.2 and AM 580 worldwide at WDBO.com. And click Listen Live or just tell your smart speaker to play WDBO Radio every Saturday at 3 p.m. If you need help with your car, you can always call Magic Mechanic at 407-629-2661. Visit our website, magicmechanic.com, or you can also email your car questions directly to me, Larry at magicmechanic.com. Hey, and don't forget to check out our new YouTube channel. And until next week, be safe in and out of your car, and we'll see you back here next Saturday at 3 p.m.